Good morning and welcome to this edition of Empowerment Hour here at Calon FM. How are you all? I have to say that the weather has been amazing. I am pre-recording this. It is a Sunday morning, and this Sunday morning the sky is so blue, it is just glorious. And I know that by the time this recording goes out on air, we may well have had a little bit of rain, which I don't know about you, but the gardens really need it. It's really parched everywhere. Everything is struggling a tiny little bit, I think, although I'm loving how in bloom things like my roses, my peonies are, and really appreciated my garden so much this year. So what are we talking about for this wonderful month of June? Well, I thought that as we are doing a lot online, well, I'm certainly doing a lot of online pre-recording, that I would get some of my Access Consciousness buddies on with me to talk about themselves and Access and what's changed in their world as a result of it. Because you hear from me, and I thought you might like to hear from other people. So this morning, I am so honoured to have this wonderful man who I just love chatting with, makes me laugh so much, and that is Alan Jones. Good morning, Mr. Jones.
Good morning, Miss Oliver.
It's me and Mr. Jones this morning.
I'm not going to try and sing that song because I would burst everybody's eardrums, but there you
go. Hi, how are you doing? What's lockdown been like for you in near London?
But dare I say it? I'm actually.
You're having fun.
I'm having a lot of fun. My life is actually really a lot of fun, and we have the sunny weather, which is great. And living in London, yes, everything is locked down. Fortunately, we have kind of shops that the supermarket is just across the road, and our local kind of shops are all still open. And yeah, we're shopping differently. Mostly we can get what we require in the shop, so that's kind of okay. And I have the park on the doorstep, so I can still do my daily exercise. And now, of course, we're allowed to sit in the park. So for me, I guess also working from home, life hasn't changed a huge amount. I've actually, what's it inspired me to do is to really look at creating my life and looking at different ways to engage with people to create something different in their life. So I actually have never been busier in some senses, but I still get a lot of time to myself. And this is what's been also really amazing for me. I remember years ago, I worked all the hours God sent for, X amount of money. I worked 13-hour days, no lunch break. And I had no time just to go and sit in the park or just sit in the garden or whatever. And now I look at what my life is, and probably I still have 6 hours a day during the day where I get just kind of do stuff like for myself, like go for a walk or kind of watch a film or do some housework, whatever. And I'm getting paid as much. Like, so I can actually work from home. Yeah, right. Because I had all these fixed points of view that, excuse the background noise, to have X amount of money coming in, I would have to work X amount of hours. And that I've actually proved, it was inconceivable that I could actually enjoy my life and be able just to go and have a coffee and still make enough money to actually enjoy my life. So I'm having quite a lot of fun and looking at what else I can create, what else can I add, and what else can I engage with, and what else can I do different, and how else can I engage with people so they wake up with the joy and enthusiasm that I used to think was never going to be possible for me.
I know that from little snippets that you've told me that there have been times in your life that you haven't been as joyful, you haven't enjoyed life. So what I want to do is just keep this introduction short, and then I'd love if you'd share with us in the next section just what was going on for you before Access Consciousness came along.
Surely.
Where were you at? What was your mental health like? That sort of thing, because that for me has been one of the biggest improvements for me is my mental health. And that actually I can be joyful even in a time like this, and it's using the tools of Access. So we're going to keep it short and sweet. I've been doing some very long sections in my interviews because I'm so intrigued and fascinated by the people I talk to. So we're going to take a short break and then we will come back and find out more about Alun Jones. Hi there, welcome back. This is Empowerment Hour. I'm Denise Oliver and you're listening to Calon FM. My guest is Alun Jones. Alun, you're based down in London, and via this wonderful online platform that so many people are using, we're able to do this recording and then people can get a sense of what's going on around the country. One day it'd be great if you came into the studio. I could take you around and do a sightseeing tour and things like that. It'd be lovely. We can't do that right now. So thank goodness for platforms like Zoom, and there's many others available as well. We can actually get to have these times together. So, Mr. Jones, what was life like for you before Access Consciousness?
You know, it's really interesting because where do I even start? I didn't realize just how depressed I had been all my life. It was so normal to feel insular and different and weird, and like I just didn't get it, and I was always doing it wrong, and life was just so depressing. I did not wake up. You know, the only times I ever woke up, got excited and actually happy were when we stayed with my grandmother. So my parents were divorced when I was 3, and for me that I get is when the depression started to really kick in. Years later I kind of realized actually none of that was even mine, it was my mother's, but like, wow, okay, that's interesting. So, and what would happen is when we'd have the school summer holidays or the Easter 2-week holidays, the only the holidays we didn't go to my grandmother usually was Christmas, but my sister and I would be looking forward to that 6 weeks holiday, like July is coming, and then we get to stay with my grandmother.
Where did you go for that?
So she lives in Hornchurch in Essex. She still lives in the same house that she's lived in since my father was, younger than me. Like I think he was about 5 when they moved there. And so we would go to this house, and there was just this space in her house that I couldn't really describe, but we were allowed to be children. We were just allowed to be. There was no judgment about like what we looked like, what we did or anything like that. And so when we'd leave my mother and we'd be kind of like, yeah, bye. And we just couldn't wait to go. And then so we'd have this space with my grandmother it's not so much that she took us out to places, but she took us to the park. She would engage with us. She would spend time with us because she enjoyed it. My mother, anyway, I'm not going to kind of knock my mother. And when we left my grandmother, we would be crying. Oh my God, like we're leaving this woman behind. And my mother used to get really upset about it and kind of judge the poop out of us because, we didn't cry when we left her. So I'm kind of painting this. So there were times in my life where I was really happy. And the nearer the end of the summer holidays came, the dread would start to set back in. And we moved around a lot. My mother got remarried, and then I went to this school. We moved, I think 3 secondary schools, and I hated all of them. I got more and more and more insular as I went on. And then I left, so we lived in Germany because my stepfather was in the RAF, and I went to live with my aunt. And then again, the only time I seemed to get space was when I lived on my own. So I had this place of my own, acknowledging finally that I have a preference for men, and so that trying to deal with all of that stuff too. Roll all of that forward to kind of year 2000, and I was hit by a car, and that then just seemed to kind of explode this depression even more. And then for the next 12 years, it just got worse and worse and worse. And then in 2012, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I did not wake. I woke up, for weeks before this happened, I would wake up just everything in my body tense. I just wanted to pull the covers over and not deal with anyone. I was kind of weeping inside, but I didn't let anyone show it. And then 2012, I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, that's it, I'm done. And I went to run the bath and I got the knife and I didn't. And what really stopped me was, I can't do this to my partner. I can't have him come home and find me dead in the bath. That's not kind. And I really lost it then. I was so angry. Like, I can't even kill myself because it's not fair on some, like, I couldn't even do that. Like, I wasn't even allowed to do that. And that's when I kind of screamed out, something's got to change. And then maybe 2 months later, that was when I started kind of playing with the Access Consciousness tools. And I remember hearing this woman for the first time and still waking up in the morning, dreading life ahead, constantly judging myself, hating my body. Like, physically, I despised my body, no matter what shape it was. I was skinny right up until 2002. And then kind of the weight piled on. So hated my body no matter what it looked like. And I heard this woman using the Access Consciousness clearing statement. And I remember swearing at the computer, really angry with her. What a load of nonsense. And just really, really cross. But what I noticed was at the end of that first call, something had changed and I couldn't say what. Listened to her again, still got really angry with the clearing statement and for what then was for me in a really annoying American accent. And then I heard Dr. Dane here and I'm like, oh my God, this guy blew me away.
Yeah.
And that was when it started to change, really.
Let's take a break. I mean, I didn't realise all that about you, so thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. And I get that at this time that we're in as well, with COVID and coronavirus and all the restrictions we've had, that I'm going to guess, I know that this is coming up for a lot of people as well. So thank you for sharing that. We'll take a break, have some more music, and then we'll come back and find out what it was about Dr. Dane here that lit the blue touch paper, as it were. Hi there, welcome back. This is Empowerment Hour, and my guest today is the very lovely Alun Jones, who I have no idea when we first met or how it came about, but I'm so glad you're in my life. I really appreciate you.
I remember when it was, actually. I do. It was at a body class, a 3-day body class you came to in London. I was hosting,
right,
a facilitator. And we didn't have much to do with each other, but I remember then, and then I didn't see you again for, I think, some time, actually. I can't remember. I saw you again at another class. It might have been a choice of possibilities or something, or level 2 and 3. And that was the next time. And then I was just very quietly, just gently watching you becoming a CF. And you really inspired me to choose it, because you did this brilliant post on Facebook about, this is how I got to choose it. I did this, I kept going, I kept choosing this, and just one at a time. And that gave me the inspiration to choose what works for me. But it's like similar to you, but in my way that worked for me. So I'm beyond grateful for that.
Well, thank you. I'm really grateful to you. So, Alun, let's just let everyone know who's listening. You're based down in London.
Yes.
You're now an Access Consciousness certified facilitator as well.
I am.
Great.
Second year. Whoa.
And it all started with you hearing someone, and then you found Dr. Dane here.
Yes.
Who doesn't adore Dr. Dane here? I'd like to know. And again, he had, I don't fully know his background, but he was in despair at some point in his life, and he was going to end his life as well. He'd set the date, he knew how he was going to do it, as he's a chiropractor, as a doctor, but he knows the body, he knew what he was going to do. He was desperately unhappy.
Yeah. Desperately
unhappy. So when you came across him, I don't know how long he will have been in Access at that time. I came into Access, I'm going to say a couple of years after you, at least. What was it about him and what he was saying that did something, that opened something up, that you saw you could choose something else?
Thank you. And what was fascinating for me was listening to this. There is just this softness in how he speaks. That's just an invitation that I kind of wanted to hear more. And he talked about the abuse that he lived with as a child, and which, I was abused physically, emotionally, sexually, you name it, financially. So I get that. So he's talking about all of this abuse, which I'd be kind of been locking up in my body, and then listening to him say, and I changed it. And up until that point, I'm like, oh, well, I'm just going to have to live with all of this memory, all of this stuff that just keeps making me feel like I'm bad and wrong all the time. But he didn't. He just said, okay, and I managed to change it with some of these tools. And here it is. And he hardly ever used the clearing statement as he was talking, which again, I really liked. He was just being this invitation to, hey, look, I know it's really hard for you. I know that this all seems real. I know that it all seems unchangeable, but really something else is possible. Take my hand and let's go. Wow, so listening to him, and then I heard about his book, Being You, Changing the World, and a friend of mine. So what happened after that first radio station was he was just like, hey, something else is possible. Just keep asking that. What else is actually possible? That was one of the first tools I learned. And no, my life did not change overnight. Like, I will be absolutely honest, it took me kind of probably a year of using these tools for me to even get some semblance of, actually, I don't feel suicidal anymore. But I did keep at it, and I would listen to every single radio show I could find with access. Denise Hughes was one of my big ones. Gary Douglas I would listen to. Tamara Yonker when she used to do access, Blossom Benedict. So these are the people that, and I would almost religiously make sure I listened to these, because they would change stuff for me, and I would be constantly listening. And I realized it was probably about 3 years later was the first time I looked at it, and I'm like, oh wow, I actually don't feel like I want to kill myself anymore. I'm not jumping out of bed with this kind of wild enthusiasm, but at least now I'm not feeling so depressed when I wake up in the morning. And he, having met this guy in person, he just inspires me to look at my life and just keep asking what else is possible. So I was changing stuff in my life, and it wasn't really till I started looking at what inspiration can I be for other people. I started to turn it kind of outwards, in a sense of what invitation can I be for people, knowing that something else is possible. And that almost kind of dynamically turned up the energy of change in my life, when I wasn't just doing it for me. When I first came across access, I just wanted to change my life. I didn't really give a crap about anybody else. I didn't. And now I'm like, this is one of the reasons I've changed so much in relationship with my body. I spent some time with a facilitator, and I realized after 3 days of being around him, I hadn't judged my body once. I'm like, oh my, like, it was a shock. I'm like, I have not, something's different. What is it? And then on the third day, I'm like, oh my God, I haven't judged my body once. I'm like, oh my God, what if I can be that for other people? What if I can be the person that people want to sit in a room with and not feel like they judge themselves? Not just about their body, but their money, their relationship, their choices, their whole life. What if I could be that energy for people, so they can look at their life and go, wow, actually, it is possible to like me. So that's kind of what's kept me going since that time. And then getting to play with people like yourself and interacting with, and yeah, I still get days where stuff comes up for me. I mean, I don't feel suicidal now. I can't, it's actually almost difficult to tap into that, of what that felt like.
Yeah.
And
I totally get it. I'm with you on that. Listeners who tune in regularly have heard this from me, and this is one of the things I'd like to come on in the next section, is access bars, which is what really started to change stuff for me. But that whole, when I started, I was still very down, very depressed, didn't even know what depression was until I didn't have it.
Yes, exactly.
And that's what I'm getting from you.
Yeah.
And now it's that whole thing of I can recall it in a way, but I can't at the same time. It's not part of me anymore. It doesn't belong with me anymore.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm getting with you. It's like you're a whole different person.
Yeah.
It's like, you've stepped out of something and stepped into something else, and just being happy, which I somehow always thought was the wrongness. And it's just like, that's so stupid, isn't it? To think that being happy isn't okay. That we actually should be constantly complaining.
My mother once said to me, what have you got to say? What have you got to be so happy about? Why
Exactly.
are you so happy?
I tell you what we'll do is we'll take a break on that and we'll be back shortly. Hi there, welcome back. This is Empowerment Hour here at Calon FM. So glad that you're with us. I love doing the show. I love having my guests on, and I really adore this guy. So Alan, thank you so much for taking the time out of whatever it is you would normally do on a Sunday morning as we're recording this, and being here with me. And again, so grateful to like everything we can do online, and so grateful to Amy, the editor, who takes my recording and makes it a radio show for me, because I don't know when we'll be actually live back in the studio. But you know what? I like doing these recordings the way I do them. I love it. So Alan, one of the very first things in Access that we get taught when we start to go through the process is Access bars. Now, I've talked about this endlessly, what changed for me when I very first had my bars run. I love getting my bars run. I love facilitating other people. I love teaching this to other people. What's it like for you?
It's really funny, actually, because I think it was a good 9 to 10 months before I had my first bars class.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and I had never had my bars run when I went to the class. And, you know, I used to hear the advert on the Access Consciousness radio show saying, you know, at the very worst, you feel like you've had a kind of really good massage. I didn't. You know, I'll be brutally kind of bluntly honest, you know, because we learned bars on wooden tables with yoga mats. So I'm laying on this hard wooden table for an hour with someone's kind of running my bars. And I got off and think, I do not feel like I've had my bars run. However, that silence, that was what I experienced. For the first time ever in my life, my head was quiet. And I'm doing that, it's like, because all my life there's this chatter, self-judgment, and judging others, blah, 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 like all of this, not stupid. And then so having my bars run, and so it was a really interesting class. And then I didn't choose another class. I had no intention at all of being a bars facilitator. I just used to swap bars with a friend of mine. And again, you know, it was just like, had my bars run, yeah, my head's quiet, great. And it took me another 4 months, I think, to have a second bars class. And then I had a third bars class, and then I did a choice of possibilities class, having already done a foundation. And then, which is like, and I didn't really swap bars a lot for 2 years. And, you know, my life would change more. And I put that more down to using the tools. And then until one day I was facilitated by Denise Hughes about Access bars being about receiving. She did some facilitation for me around actually being willing to receive having my bars run. And that was that one time I had my bars run was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. And then you just couldn't stop me. I used to, you know, kind of being a bars facilitator, I could set up my own shares. So I would regularly set up a bars share with people and swap with other people and do bars in the park. And now I love having my bars run. I do. I fall asleep. It's one of the things I do when I don't like people talking to me. It's like, if I have my bars run, don't talk to me. This is like, shush. Yeah. And I'm off, I'm out. And it does change stuff. You know, I couldn't tell you specifically what kind of changes with each one. I'm about to gong, excuse me. Not me personally, it wasn't my body. just so your listeners know. I'm not a walking clock or anything. And so for me, bars is magical, and it kind of empties out a whole load of stuff you didn't even realize till you can look at something and go, wow, I don't even have a charge on that. Whereas I know before, even no matter how much I pot and popped, which is the access clearance statement, or kind of interesting point of view, like it just didn't seem to change it. I had my bars run, It's like, oh, I don't have a charge. Actually, there's something else I wanted to pick up on. You know, you said about stepping into being a completely different person.
Mm.
On that, like with having the bars run and using the tools, there's a photograph that I'm looking at as I'm kind of talking to you. And I was running someone's bars, swapping bars, about 4 or 5 months ago. And I looked at the photograph and I don't recognize the person in it. Like I look different,
Yeah.
but it's not even just the look. It's I look at the photograph for me and like the energy of who that person was is like a stranger. I don't know who it is. And that for me, I mean, and I don't see that as a loss. I'm
No,
so
same here.
happy.
No. And I can identify with that as well. You just reminded me of the, like going back to the first couple of years when I was learning bars, running bars, teaching bars, and then doing other courses as well. Is that people, I've lived here for many years now, and there's in Chester, there's a bridge from where I live over into town, and I would see neighbours that lived further away, and my kids had gone to school with their kids and all of that. And I'd go, hi, how are you? And they'd go, oh, didn't recognise you. Oh, you look so different.
Yeah.
And it's that happens. It's like you shed something.
Yeah. Physically, there is
Evolve somewhere.
Yeah. And, you know, the photograph that I'm looking at is 20 years ago. And whilst you can see some elements, the colour of my skin, just everything about the energy of my body.
Yeah.
So different.
Hi there, welcome back. Yes, this is Empowerment Hour. I'm Denise Oliver. My guest is AlunJones. Do you have, Alan, one thing about access? We all love running bars and getting our bars run, but is there one of the tools of access that you go back to time and time again?
Yes, there is. And there's one of the tools that has created more change and space for me with everything is interesting point of view.
Would you say more about that? Just explain what that's about for anyone who's like, what are they talking about?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I used to, you know, the thing about this tool is that, okay, where do we even start? Everything is a point of view. Like whether, you know, the dress that you're wearing or the top that you're wearing is kind of peach or salmon or pink or kind of like red, it's just a point of view. Like, and so when we stop having these fixed points of view about what something is or should be, it allows us actually just to have something different. That's the easiest way I can explain it. When I have a point of view about something, I can always change that point of view. It doesn't have to be fixed. So, for example, I've just literally, today is the last day of a month-long challenge I've done with people called Interesting Point of View with Your Body. And what we did is we got people to stand naked in front of the mirror every single day for 10 minutes and look at a different part of the body. And like all these judgments of our body, oh my God, my belly's so fat. Interesting point of view, I have this point of view, my belly is fat. And because it is just an interesting point of view. Is it fat? Somebody else might look at it and say that it isn't. Somebody else might look at it and say that it's huge. Somebody else might look at it and say that it's actually, you look really slim. Other people might, you know, it's like, I remember doing NLP years ago, and one of the things they used to say to us was, the map is not the territory. Just because I perceive my body in one way doesn't mean to say that anybody else is going to perceive it in that way. And if somebody perceives my body as fat and ugly, okay, I would make that relevant and meaningful for me for what reason? It's just their point of view.
Yeah.
And it's like when you're willing to be interesting point of view and not have a fixed point of view about anything, it changes stuff. And it kind of often changes stuff quicker for me than destroying and creating using the clearing statement. I love interesting point of view. And, you know, something comes up in my head. It's like, oh my God, that, you know, kind of, I look so stupid, or, oh my God, I talk too much. Interesting point of view. I have that point of view. Because if I weren't judging myself, what would I choose?
Yeah.
That is what interesting point of view opens up. It's getting out of judgment and just seeing it as a point of view. It's just a point of view.
And at this moment in time, there's a lot of points of view.
There are. And I love watching the news for that, because for me, watching the news, especially at the moment, I can sit there running this tool in my head as I'm listening to these people kind of projecting all of this stuff, like, well, interesting point of view, person has that point of view. And then I can look at it from a space of, okay, so what is actually true here for me?
Yeah, and it's not about this making other people right or wrong either, is it? And it's not about making you right or wrong. It's literally seeing it as, oh, okay, so I'm looking through this window right now, and this is the view I have.
Yeah.
And what if I turned 180 degrees? What view would I have then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a great. Sorry, that's a great metaphor for it. It's like it's not about making anything right or wrong. It is just looking at it from a different perspective. If I didn't have that point of view, what could I choose? Money is bad and wrong. Interesting point of view. I have that point of view. Yeah, I shouldn't be happy during COVID. Interesting point of view. I have that point of view.
And you shouldn't be earning the amount of money you're earning.
No, I should not be generating revenue. Interesting point of view. I have that point of view.
Yeah. Or not. And that's the other thing, isn't it? People are they feel guilty that they're not productive, that they're not actually earning money, that this isn't happening, that's not happening. Actually, what if it's all just stuff you've been fed from other people, from media, from wherever it's come from? And you start using a tool like, literally all you have to say is interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Yeah. And I do the deep breathing, you do the deep breathing. Yeah. And it's like you sigh it away. There's a relief.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just this, and then you can just get on with your life. Your life, not someone else's.
Yes. True story.
And I mean, how many tools would you say there are in that?
There are thousands.
So many, aren't there?
There are so many. And so, interesting point of view is one of my favorites. Actually, what else is possible is another one.
Yeah.
What else is possible that I haven't considered? I just sit in the garden and ask that question.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. I love asking that truth. What else is possible here? What else is possible I've never acknowledged? What else is possible I've never considered? Yeah. What else? What else? What else? Okay, we're going to take another break now, and we will be back for the final session of the show. How quickly does time fly? We're having fun. Welcome back. So, Mr. Jones, final session of the show. How can people find you? Where can they find you? Where are you?
People can find me on Facebook, and my name on there is Alun, which is ALUN .change agent. That's all one word. Or they can find me my website, which is AlunJones.com. So very, very nice Welsh name there. Yes. My full name is actually Alun Wyn Jones, just in case I'm not the rugby player. People often anyway, I do get messages for the rugby players sometimes. True, yeah.
How lovely. What's coming up for you? What have you got that people might want to find out more about? So,
talking of the interesting point of view challenge, we've just done interesting point of view with bodies, and then from June 1st, we're starting interesting point of view with money, with wealth, opulence, and luxury.
Lovely.
And so we're going to be using that tool to kind of clear all the points of view we have about being, creating, and generating, and that's a free thing. That's on Facebook. I also have, and I'm not sure when this particular kind of show is going out, but from the 1st to the 7th of June, I'm doing some creation energy calls with Symphony of Possibilities. And that's a daily thing for 7 days. But I also do a group Symphony of Possibilities session every 2 weeks. And I also have a call in the middle of June, which is all about choice, the superpower of choice, which I haven't got details up for yet. That's kind of, in some senses, that's all I've got. There's more in the kind of coming through, but if people check my website or check my Facebook page, those are the two places where I start to announce kind of what else is coming up. And there is some juicy stuff coming up. I just haven't put it on.
Yeah, it's not fully created yet.
No.
You are incredibly creative person, I consider, with the tools of access, with getting stuff out there in the world. when you're looking to create something, what questions do you ask yourself?
One of my favorites is, what can I create today that will contribute to everything? What can
Good.
I create today that's really fun for me? What else is possible that I haven't considered before is one of them.
Yeah.
What if this is just the start of something even more awesome? What else can I add to my life that would be really fun and expansive for me?
Oh, what else can I add to my life is one of my favorite questions. It
Yeah,
just is, rather than that, just sitting back and expecting life to happen. Actually, what about
yeah,
choosing?
it's sitting in the pilot seat rather than the kind of the passenger, as it were.
Yeah.
So also there's a couple of others that I ask kind of every day. It's like, what can I be today that I've never been willing to be before? What can I be and do different today that will expand my life?
Mm.
What greater possibilities that have never existed before can I engage with today? What would I like to create myself as today? And and another one, when something comes up that is a bit funky, it's like, what can I do with this that I have no willingness to be aware of?
Oh.
So, and what's my greatest potency that I'm making wrong? So I have a list of questions that I kind of look at each day and kind of go, okay, which of these questions really pop for me? So for me, it's like, what can I create that will be really fun for me? Where can I go and play that will be really fun for me? Who can I engage with? What
Yeah.
else is possible that will be really fun for me? But I love the what else can I add to my life? Because, the thing is about depression for me is I didn't have enough going on.
Yeah.
Literally, it was just work, home, eat, sleep, work, home, eat, sleep. That's not enough. And if you're doing the same stuff day in, day out, for me, that leads to depression. And even if you just take up knitting, like,
And I do.
and me too, and I'm really bad at it, but I love doing it. I will start with 40, kind of, I can cast on 40, and then I'll kind of keep going, and then I'll drop a few stitches and end up with 70. How that happens, I couldn't tell you. But right, and I just unpick it and I do it again. I can't cast off, I can do purl. Woo-hoo. And it's like, it's just fun to try something new. I just found some keto, because I a keto diet. I just found some keto chocolate muffins and recipes for that, and cupcakes. Oh my god, they turned out brilliantly, and I loved them, and my body's really happy with them. So it's really, what if you just create from play and
Yeah.
be willing to make it, like, for it to go wrong?
Yeah.
What can I muck up today that will be really fun? Like, truly, like, that is just, and I'm aware that it might push some buttons in people, but really it's like, we've got to be willing to muck things up and get them wrong.
Yeah. And also with access, that's the thing. It does push buttons.
Yeah.
It's not about making you comfortable.
No,
It's just the opposite. And actually, when you've gone through that discomfort and you find that the challenges aren't as challenging as you've made them out to be in your mind, life takes on a whole new meaning. It really does. It really opens up in a way my life has, in a way I could never have envisaged when I was in the depths of whatever I was in the depths of years ago. Because I can't even put words to it anymore, because I'm not like that.
no. And the idea of actually inspiring people, and I get messages from people kind of quite often go, oh my god, that was really brilliant, thank you, you've inspired me to change this. And mostly, and this is what I really want to emphasize to people before we finish, because I know we're coming to a close, it's like,
Yeah.
what inspiration are you that you haven't acknowledged? Because often people won't tell you that you've inspired them. And it's not till years later that someone says, oh my god, you said that, and that just changed everything for me. So being you, changing the world. There's a book about that by Dr. Danier, but it truly is like, the more you're willing to be you without apology, without excuses, without justification, the more actually inspiring you can be for other people. And I never thought that would be even possible.
And I think for me, where you're concerned is it's the kindness that you be. And that for me really, really radiates from you. And that doesn't mean that you'll take people's crap from them. No, no, no. No, you can be kind, and I got this from you. You can also be kick-ass as well.
Yeah.
And and life changes.
Yeah,
does.
that's definitely a conversation for another time, because
Yeah.
kindness is not something I ever thought I was.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh no, we've got to finish the show right on
I
that.
know.
What
So,
else is possible, Mr. Jones? What else is possible? So
yeah,
you can find Alan all over social media, specifically Facebook, and at his website, alan-jones.com. You are an incredibly inspiring man to me, and I really look forward to seeing you in person before too long. I'd like
yes,
a great big teddy bear hug from you, please.
likewise.
And we'll go and have some keto muffins somewhere, whatever it was you just said you'd make. Thank you so very much. I really, really do appreciate this. And thank you everyone listening to Empowerment Hour at Calon FM. I'll be back with you next week. Stay safe, stay alert, whatever it is we're meant to be right now, be all of it. Bye for now.